Legend of Legaia on the PlayStation 1 stands out among many of the Japanese RPGs on the PlayStation for having a very unique battle system, and to my knowledge it's a battle system that has not been replicated to this day. A lot of people fondly remember this game as one of the best that the PlayStation 1 had to offer. However, what most people seem to forget is Legend of Legaia got a sequel on the PlayStation 2 called Legaia 2 Duel Saga. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This game is not as good as the original. It has many problems with it that hold it back from being better than what the original set out to achieve. On the flip side though, there are some things that it does better, taking concepts from the first game and building up on those and refining them in a lot of ways. So in today's review, we're going to take a look at just how the game does this and how it falters at being a sequel, and take a look at a lesson to see how to not create a sequel to such a successful game. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel, and let's review Legaia 2 Duel Saga for the PlayStation 2. Legaia 2 Duel Saga's story is more than likely what causes most people to give this game a bad rap. Its story is rather generic and uses a lot of common Japanese RPG tropes and reuses them in very uninspiring ways, unlike the first game, which also used some of those same tropes, but did it in a way that very much benefited the plot. Legaia 2 also lacks the suspense the first game had with the mystery of the mist and where it came from. Legaia 2 pits you in the role of Ling on his first day as he joins the Vigilante Corps, a little small army inside of his village that goes out and takes care of the monsters around the forest towards the village. A ferocious monster shows up in the forest and attacks one of Ling's teammates, wounding him. Later that night, a mysterious man shows up in the woods looking for a mysterious stone, simply called the Azure Stone, or what the villagers refer to as the Aqualith. The Aqualith is the source of what provides the village with water, and without that, they suffer a drought. Ling wakes up 5 days later after fighting the mysterious man and vows to chase him down and look for the jewel that he took to bring it back to the village. He discovers he is a mystic along with Kazan, Maya, and the mysterious man from the forest. He will learn how to use his new power, control it, and ultimately find himself in a plot to save the world. While I do like the characters somewhat, they fall into the typical JRPG trope seen in every Japanese RPG, and don't even try to break the molds. Ling is your typical chosen one archetype, while Maya is your typical character with a tragic backstory. Kazan fulfills the role of the master who will teach Ling how to use his new powers, so don't expect any sort of big character reveals or clever writing, just like the story. The characters are predictable and boring, just like the generic plot. The combat is where Duel Saga truly shines. If you've played the original or watched my review, you will be very familiar with the combat already, but for those of you who haven't, here is a quick recap. Legend of Legaia and Legaia 2 both utilize turn-based combat and incorporates elements of a fighting game into its combat. By using left, down, up, and right, you'll be able to chain attacks together, filling up your bar. By discovering the right inputs, you'll unlock these arts, which will basically become your physical attacks. You will also be able to use magic as you were in the first game, but it's utilized very differently and does not play anything similar to the way that Legend of Legaia set it up. More on magic later. Let's talk about what Legaia 2 brings to the combat and does better than its predecessor. Arts are split into 5 categories: normal arts, super arts, hyper arts, variable arts, and mystic arts. This time around, not all arts will consume AP. This means you can look stylish in combat without consuming AP all the time. Normal arts will accumulate AP for you. The amount you'll get will be noted in the menu next to the arts and the button combinations that you will need to press it. Super arts, however, get the biggest revamp. In Legend of Legaia, super arts were arts you would combine together for various different combinations that the characters to do, kind of activating them at random. This time in Legaia 2, super arts are a bit more powerful, and as a sacrifice for their stronger damage, they will consume AP. This allows you to combine super arts and normal arts to use and accumulate AP during the same combo. It just looks better as your character pulls off moves rather than just having random hits. It adds that final blow sense and just makes combat look all the more prettier. Hyper arts, like the first game, are arts with elemental properties. These also consume AP. You are also not able to stack them with other arts. Normally, if your art was up, down, up, and your second one was up, left, up, your command bar would look something like this: up, down, up, left, up. You can combine normal arts with hyper arts, but you can't chain them together, meaning, using the same example as before, your bar would look something like this: up, down, up, left, up. Next up is variable arts. Variable arts are a riot to use, and honestly some of my favorite moves in the game. Variable arts is a combined attack between two characters. Each character gets two specific arts unique to each character, both represented by red and purple. It's an A and B type scenario. You cannot pair purple with purple or red with red. Together, the color coordination will let you know what it is. These arts do massive damage, taking a total of 72 AP from both party members and each taking up each party member's turn, but do massive damage. Mystic arts are a character's strongest art, but have very specific requirements to use them. And if you're playing this game without a guide, you're more than likely not going to stumble across these, unless you find them within the world and learn them from NPCs, which is something the game does let you do. By talking to random NPCs, you're able to learn arts this time around. But those requirements are: you have to have less than half of your HP, more than half of your MP, and 90 AP. If all these requirements are met, you will pull off a mystic art once you put in the right combination. This will do devastating damage to the enemy. Most of my mystic arts towards the end of the game were doing upwards of 90,000 damage to the enemy. If you really want to have some fun, you can cheese a boss fight by going into it with all party members meeting these requirements and laying waste to most bosses. They are a bit OP, but definitely come in handy during prolonged boss fights with a crap ton of HP. Spirit this time around is completely absent and is replaced by Guard, which effectively does the same thing except charging your bar and making it longer. This is because Procyon got rid of the mechanic in battle where you needed to use Spirit to make your bar longer. Not only does this allow you to chain up more arts, it allows for more combinations in general, which is always fun. We need to talk a bit about Maya, as she plays slightly differently to the other characters. Maya is able to use magic for her basic attacks. Because of this, her arts have elements assigned to them. Rather than up, right, left, and down, each direction has a different element assigned to it. Unlike your other characters though, Maya is not able to chain together her attacks. The entire combo must be entered for her to use it. You can still combine them, but it's very similar to the hyper arts I mentioned earlier. Magic this time around was something I greatly appreciated how they went about doing it. Each character who joins your party has an origin. We briefly mentioned these in the story section, but to elaborate a bit more on what an origin is, it is essentially a second soul of sorts. Only mystics have, a race long lost to time with very few in existence. Each origin has an element they represent, and magics your characters used are based around that element. Legaia 2 does away completely with the monster capturing system of the past game, and this is a huge benefit. This makes each character feel unique, with each character having different spells they can use and benefits that boost your party. it adds a layer of optional strategy that can be used. For instance, Maya will only ever be able to use healing-based spells, while Ling's are fire-based. Fire Crest will increase a character's strength temporarily. The monster capturing mechanic was probably the most annoying part of the first game, and I was glad to see it go. One thing the game does is make most enemies able to be killed by magic spells, so it's always handy to keep magic powders around, which are also a lot easier to come across than they were in Legend of Legaia. This eliminates the battles feeling needlessly long and drawn out, again like the original game could have. I feel they realized this and gave this option to players who wanted to get through battles more quickly, make waste of enemies, and just have an easier time grinding. Mystic Arts will also use your character's origin. There isn't much to talk about when it comes to gameplay outside of battle, so we will briefly blow through this section. Origins also give unique abilities outside of battle. These will need to be used to solve puzzles, unlock routes to hidden chests, and sometimes even require you to come back later with another character once that ability has been obtained and get past that certain area that is now blocked, opening up new paths to stronger items, new chests that were previously unexplorable. Ling's origin will be able to crush boulders and weak walls, opening up pathways blocked. Maya will be able to make things grow, while Kazan will be able to raise platforms to get up to another path. Sharon will be able to activate switches using lightning, and Aine will be able to move strong blocks, push things off of cliffs, or pick up treasure chests that are buried underground. The game will tell you once about special abilities, but makes it specific to Ling's ability only, not actually telling you what the other character abilities will do. For instance, there was a vine that had not fully grown, which needed Maya's ability to grow. I walked past it thinking it was just scenery, since it didn't look out of place and only hit a treasure chest. I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't until the game forced me to use her origin to get to the next area it dawned on me just what it was. The game also does away entirely with the field when moving from location to location. This was something a lot of games did when they transitioned to the PlayStation 2. I imagine this was for budgetary reasons, and while I missed the field, I didn't miss the slow pace at which the first game had you moving on the field. Cooking and crafting play a role outside of combat as well. Cooking will actually give you benefits in battle, such as raising certain stats. Crafting was something I never used much, because most of the time the towns had the weapons that were stronger than what I could craft, and if they weren't, they were 1 to 2 points higher, not really making it worth it. You're able to do this inside of shops and camp. Speaking of camp, you can also chat with your party members to get their perspective on the current situation and sometimes get some more information regarding these characters. I found myself listening to what they had to say just because I enjoy small little details like this, especially when it comes to character development. It was these little interactions that actually got the characters to somewhat grow on me. Accessories also play a key role into how combat is played. Each character will be able to equip accessories. Some of these are just increasing their upper defense or their lower defense, making them able to withstand more attack damage, or some of them will give added benefits, such as guarding against poison or guarding against petrify, or perhaps increasing a character's strength by giving them a strength bonus. There are a multitude of different attributes that can come from these accessories, and you're just going to have to play around and see what they can offer. Alright, let's get into the complaints that really hold this game back for me. For everything Legaia 2 does right, it regresses in a lot of ways. The escape RNG is absolutely atrocious. I've played a lot of JRPGs, and I don't think I have ever scene, and escape RNG this terrible. I wouldn't consider this a hard game, but all the times I died and lost progress were due to not being able to run away, which was rather ridiculous. There was a total of 10 times during one battle I was finally able to escape. There are even skills that allow you to increase the escape rate, but even with a couple of them equipped, it never ended in my favor. It seemed to take me just as many tries as it did without them. There is an item you can buy to ensure that you escape every time. Usually I don't waste money on these in Japanese RPGs, but pro tip, just buy them, buy lots of them, you'll thank me later. Alright, let's get into the bulk of what is holding this game back the most, and it's the first 10 hours of the game. The first chunk of the game focuses on introducing you to the combat controls. Even as new things pop up throughout the game, you'll get little tutorials on them, which is honestly fine. The second boss fight challenges you to learn enemy patterns, guard, attack, heal, and use specific items. It doesn't outright tell you this, which makes it an exciting boss fight, but it's designed to very much teach you the core mechanics of Legaia 2's battle system. This was an extremely fun boss fight, and then it's all derailed when Maya joins the party. About 7 to 8 hours, Maya will not be able to attack. She will not be able to do anything other than heal and guard. Legaia 2 Duel Saga intentionally and needlessly slows down the pace of the game because of this. If the developers were trying to tell a story through gameplay, it failed miserably. Maya is a mute with a tragic backstory, and because of this, she can't talk. Maya's spells are written in the story that in order to use them, she needs to be able to speak the certain languages or spell names in order to cast magic. Because she can't speak, she cannot do this. Legend of Legaia did this somewhat similarly to show a power balance between how much stronger a character with a raw Suru was, but it was for one dungeon. Legaia 2 is not one dungeon, not two, but 4 frickin' dungeons, and 2 of them are back to back, and the last one is annoying on top of this. I would have rather just had the game kick her from combat entirely until it was her time to shine and adjust the difficulty accordingly. There is absolutely no reason a game should hold the player back this much from its gameplay for this long, especially in a Japanese RPG. There is always a way to go about doing this without sacrificing the experience of the player. Final Fantasy VII does this quite well by using gameplay mechanics to show just how much more powerful Sephiroth is over Cloud, and cementing him as the legendary soldier that he is. I can see many people just honestly putting this game down before the 10 hours are up and saying this is a complete waste of my time. If a game does not respect your time, it is not worth playing. And this is just bad design. How they thought taking a small little problem in Legaia 2, or Legend of Legaia, and bringing it into Legaia 2 and thought that this was a great idea is beyond me. This is not the way you build a sequel. Why they would go about reusing something like that from the original and making it worse just frustrates the hell out of me. The voice acting in this game is top-notch levels of bad. If you find bad voice acting as charming as I do, you'll feel right at home with this title. The voices also do not fit some of the characters in the slightest. The only character really that I feel seems put forth any effort into her voice acting was Maya's voice actor. It's funny considering she has the least spoken lines. That's a lot of negatives. So let's end this review on a few high notes. The soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. Michiru Oshima returns as composer, and most of the compositions for this game were reused ones from Legend of Legaia. The songs that were reused, though, were ones that I like, so I wouldn't really consider that too much of a problem. The real stars of the show, though, were two composers who helped out on this soundtrack. That being Hitoshi Sakimoto, who's most known for Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, and Valkyria Chronicles, and Yasunori Mitsuda, who composed Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and Xenogears. It's a very unique sound brought to the soundtrack because of these two composers. It's quite a pleasure to my ears to be able to listen to these soundtracks, considering that they were composed by two of my favorite video game composers of all time. The character models looked really good inside and outside of battle, the environments looked a bit bland, and it's pretty clear most of the game's budget went into making these characters look as good as they did, so it's nothing to really hold against the game. Legaia 2 DualShock is a hard game to recommend, let alone give my seal of approval. It's a shame because what this game improved was really great, but when it has its faults, they were too major to overlook. If you're looking to play one of the two, definitely go with the first game. It's a much more enjoyable package. If you never played this game, but played the original, well, it's up to you, but the improved combat isn't worth the sluggish story and the boring 10 hours just to get to the good sections of this game. We never did get another Legaia game, which was a bit of a shame. I feel Procyon really could have found a great balance between the two. I'd love to see a sequel or even a spiritual successor with the right storyteller on board, and the team reuniting. They could really make something special here. With JRPGs having a bit of a renaissance lately this generation, now would be as perfect time as any to revive this series. That is going to wrap up my Legend of Legaia review. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found the video helpful, give it a like, as it does help out the channel, as well as sharing it on social media. Links down below will be to my Teespring shirt if you guys want to pick up a t-shirt. It's down there below, as well as some affiliate links directly going to Amazon for some games that I recommend giving a shot if you're just looking for a brand new game to try out. Social media links will also be down below in the description box, as well as my Twitch, and we will be starting streaming games on Twitch here very, very soon. There will be an update video linking that and talking about that very, very soon. But all that's going to be down below in the description box. Most importantly, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Until the next review, Spoons is checking out.